all of you know about the GRE exam. I'm going to give you a little briefing into the nitty-gritties of the exam, because while you are aware that the GRE is an exam that you need to take to do your master's in the US, some of you have not taken the GRE yet, and I'm given to understand that you will benefit from knowing more about the exam. So the GRE is offered in more than 180 countries in the world. They have 1,000 test centers. It's close to 4 hours long, the exam. It's computer-based, and it costs close to $200 for a single attempt. You can attempt the GRE up to 5 times a year, provided you have a minimum of 3 weeks between attempts, but we strongly recommend that you study well and write it once. And the best part about the GRE is that the scores are valid for 5 years, which means even if you're in college, some of you may be in your first year or second year, and it's worthwhile taking the exam as soon as possible, because your college is going to get busier as the years progress, right? I mean, fourth year you're going to have projects, and third year you have to have internships and all of that. So getting your GRE done with as early as possible can help you create an academic profile for the rest of your and use your rest of your college duration to better formulate your profile, okay? And I'll talk more about that in the coming slides. Do remember that you must have a valid passport before you even apply for the GRE exam. You can register online at ets.org/GRE. And it is essential that you have a valid passport and that the name in which you register match the name on your passport, okay? So a little bit inside the exam. The exam, you have a verbal section, quant section, and you also have a writing section. Scores vary between 130 to 170 points in each section. And please keep in mind that a 130 score is just a 0, okay? And a GRE scores are very, very important, and I'll explain why. So these are different sections that you get on your exam, and you also have a writing section. So you will have to write 2 essays at the beginning of your test, and the first one I will just be typing essays. So I'm not sure when was the last time you did that, but hey, this is a good opportunity to brush up your writing skills as well. So why is a good GRE score important? You must be aware that universities in the US look at 4 different aspects of your profile before they arrive at a decision whether to admit you or not. And some universities are very selective in their admissions. By selective, what I mean is that, let us say out of every 100 applicants, they might accept only 10 applicants or 20 applicants, which means they're throwing 80 or 90 applicants of every 100 into the reject pile. So before they decide to accept or reject you, they're going to look at these 4 criteria, right? These are your GRE and TOEFL scores, your academics, basically your mark sheets, your transcripts, your grades in your undergraduate degree, your co-curricular activities, by that we mean your internships, projects, and if you're a working professional, then your work experience, and your LORs, which is your letters of recommendation, and your SOP, your statement of purpose. So these are the different aspects that universities are going to look at. Now I want you to look at these 4 things, and one of these stands out very clearly, okay? Of these 4 boxes, there's only one which is uniform across the world. There's only one which cannot be cooked up, no matter what. Okay, there's only one which you can compare in the same manner, whether you're, whether you're from China or Brazil or India or Portugal or Uzbekistan, and that is your GRE score. Okay, it helps them compare students from different backgrounds on the same scale. So a good GRE score is extremely important. And a good GRE score also compensates for other shortcomings in your profile to some extent. What I mean by that is, let us say your academics are pretty low, but your GRE score is very high, then it does balance out your profile as compared to somebody whose academic scores are low and your GRE scores are also low, right? Conversely, if your academic scores are high, okay, you're among your class toppers, but your GRE score sucks, then that also creates a very ambivalent impression on the person who's analyzing your application, right? So a good GRE score is important, And it is something you need to keep in mind. Those of you who've already written your GRE, if you feel you can still improve, you should consider taking it up again, provided there's enough time to your application. I know that some universities, the application deadlines are already over, or most of them, will be in December, from December mid till Jan middle. So if you have time, you can always write it again. We'll come into the universities later. Here are the average GRE scores of accepted applicants at the engineering, math, and physics related programs in some of the top universities. So you will find that verbal and quant scores for the average applicant, these universities, is between 165 through 169. Okay, these are not, these are very significant numbers. And any guesses for what the NL is? The NL column, so Harvard has 150 NLs, and what that means is Harvard has 150 Nobel laureates. Okay, these are the number of Nobel laureates in these countries, and just to put that in perspective, India, the entire country, our nation with more than 1 billion people, has all of I think 12 Nobel laureates, if I'm not mistaken, and these 12 include persons of Indian origin who are no longer Indian citizens. So you still include them and you arrive at a number of 12. So the reason we put this column for you is for you to understand the kind of quality research that happens if you get into a top US university. Okay? So undergrads from which majors take the take the GRE for their US studies? This is a very interesting graph. Take a look. As expected, most people who take the GRE from India have an engineering or science, computer science, math kind of a background. Whereas in the US, of course, I'm sure you know that American students also have to take the GRE to do their masters in their own country. The spread is very different, okay? It's people from life sciences and social sciences who do their masters, who take the GRE more frequently. So this is very, very interesting numbers. And if you look carefully, more people take the GRE from an engineering background in India than in the US. Okay, so that's just something to keep in mind, because this is a very competitive exam, and you're competing with a lot of your fellow countrymen, and your test scores are very important, because you should understand that universities never look at your GRE scores. Okay, I know that comes as a bit of a shock. Let me explain what I mean. When I say that universities never look at your GRE scores, what I mean is that they always look at your GRE percentiles. And percentiles are numbers that are released by the ETS, the organizer of the GRE, to talk about out of every 100 people, how many people are above or below you. So what does this mean for you? Most test takers find verbal harder than quant. So a percentile of 162 is 90th percentile in verbal, which means out of every 100 people, 90 people perform below you in verbal, but only 83 people perform below you in quant. Okay, and the average percentiles for GRE test takers are around this number. You can see that 50th percentile is somewhere around in the early 150s. Okay, so this is so 150 score is just about average. But, and here's where the big but comes. The 150 score is around average across all majors, across all undergrad majors. But if you look at only engineering majors, okay, you will find that more than 50% of engineering majors score more than 160 in quant. Can you look at that number right there? Okay, and only less than 25%, less than a quarter of engineering majors get less than 155 in quant. So your quant scores are extremely important. So if you crossed 160, it's not such a big deal, because more than half of the engineering undergrads do that. If you cross 165 in quant, more than a quarter of engineering undergrads do that. So universities, and this information, you even have further splits by department of engineering. The reason I'm talking a little bit more about engineering is because I know that our user base has a lot of people from the engineering background, and I'm pretty sure that this information will benefit you guys. Okay, so please keep in mind that universities and the admissions department will not look at these raw scores, okay, but they will look at these percentiles and see where you stand amongst your peers. In fact, the average Asian engineering undergrad from the US scores 155 in verbal and 161 in quant. That's the average Asian undergrad, and the US gives breakup by race and so on. So this is food for thought, and especially if the kind of program that you're applying to is heavy on the quant side. For example, I would say that mechanical engineering or computer science or electrical engineering is more quant heavy than, say, some of the bioengineering related fields, right? So you have to decide, for that matter, economics is also quant heavy. So you have to decide whether your scores are appropriate for the major that you're applying for. Okay, so just a quick difference between skill-based exams and knowledge-based exams. This is in the context of your GRE. It's also in the context of your of some of the things that you will do in the US in your curriculum. Okay, so on the GRE, you can have questions from any topic, whereas a knowledge-based exam, like your college semester exams, tests predefined syllabus. So the ability to mug up is not at all useful on the GRE, and you cannot work through last-minute study on this. Okay, so you do require daily practice because last-minute study will not help. So it's kind of like building a skill. It's like building a skill versus mugging up some facts. So these are two different kinds of exams, and you need to know that the way to study for each exam type does change. So it is different. And you need to practice, you need guidance, you need the right kind of feedback and so on. Okay, so that was it about the GRE. I hope this gave you a good picture of where you stand, what kinds of scores you need to aim for, that you can still take the exam again if you have time before your application deadlines, and a little bit about how to study. So now let us move on to the university selection and application process. Okay, so this is very important because the university that you do your master's in will stand with you for the rest of your life. Okay, so those of you who did not do your undergrad from a fancy school, you should strongly consider doing your MS in the best possible school that you can, because brand value matters. And it is not an easy task to pick out the university because the US is huge, it's diverse, it's a complex country. In terms of sheer landmass, the US is 2.5 times that of larger than India. Okay, and just as the US is huge, diverse, and complex, same as the university system in the US. Okay, these are some of the 45 well-known US universities, and you can see quite a bit of geographic spread and different specializations and so on.